Welcome to an episode of the Coffee and Podcast, where specialty coffee means so much more. I am your host, Philip Klayman, and I'm also one of the co-founders of Three Tree Coffee in Statesboro, Georgia. On the Coffee and Podcast, we are all about cultivating freedom for victims of human trafficking, all while drinking some really great coffee. And I have some great coffee today made by some incredible people that we're going to get to meet. I'm super excited to have Lucas on the show, Lucas Cuadros and Andres Cardona. Lucas is the co-founder of Unblended in Colombia, which we'll be learning more about that organization. And Andres is a Colombian coffee farmer and mentor in the Young Producer Program that Unblended puts on. I think we're going to learn a lot about their organization and some of the things they're doing to make sure that there is sustainability and equity across the production chain when it comes to specialty coffee. A quick disclaimer to our listeners, Lucas will be translating for Andres today. And so there are some delays in communication. Sometimes the audio can be a little difficult to hear with Andres. And there are some pauses as we wait for Lucas to translate for Andres. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of that before we get started today. I'm super pumped to have some of our producers on the show today, representing some new coffees we have. More on that in a minute. But first off, gentlemen, thank you both so much for being on the show. And let's start with you, Lucas. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your upbringing?
Thank you, Philip, for the invite. It's truly an honor. And so I'm 29 years old. I had a really great upbringing. I was an athlete my whole life, and I earned a scholarship for swimming, and that led me to going to school in Wingate, North Carolina, close to Charlotte. And then that was how my journey in the U.S. started. And then obviously as a Colombian student, immigrant, I guess, everybody kept, asking me for coffee, and that sort of sparked an interest in me and going back to the roots of what made me special as a Colombian in the United States. And then to not make the story very long, so I graduated from a marketing major, and then I started a marketing agency with a friend in the US. And then we were doing websites and social media in 2017. And then I went into an MBA program at Clemson University that had an emphasis in entrepreneurship and innovation. So the purpose of the class was of the course, the whole MBA, the program was for you to pick one project and develop it throughout the whole year around all the topics that you were going to study: accounting, marketing, finance, all of those things. So I didn't wanna choose the marketing agency, so I chose a coffee project that we were doing for a client of ours that happened to be my uncle. And then that project was eventually a marketing tool for coffee shops. And that was the original idea of Unblended. Then I finished my program, came back to Colombia, and started working on my family's business. That's a hardware store. And then sort of the project took a backseat until my sister joined in 2021 full time. And then we were like, all right, let's bring this project to life. From those very beginnings, we met Andres Cardona, who back then was helping out his uncle in the farm on the side, and also doing some construction work. We were very lucky to meet him, and I think that's a good segue to his introduction.
Excellent. And before I ask Andres a little bit, Lucas, what swimming stroke did you specialize in when you were swimming in college?
Okay. Were you a swimming too? Are we all a swimmer?
That's questionable. I can swim. That doesn't mean I'm good at swimming.
Okay. I was swimming freestyle. I was a sprinter, so doing 50, 100, and 200 free. That was
excellent.
Of my friends. Yeah.
And then from that story, did I glean, so the kind of the heartbeat behind Unblended, actually started out as a school project. Is that right? I mean, it was kind of that project that really started
Yes.
the momentum.
Yeah. So at Clemson, it was a really cool program because from week one, you had to choose your project and you had to show results. So every week we had to go and talk to a mentor or talk to a potential investor or talk to a potential customer. And you would actually get grades if you actually landed customers in your project. So the building for the MBA is right in downtown Greenville, who's next door to Methodical's first coffee shop. And then because I had to get customers, I met the guys from Methodical, and then they were the first customers of the Unblended project, which originally was something different. Like I said, a marketing tool, but they were interested in green coffee. So that was the first time I did a cupping ever. And they actually bought some lots. And then I guess that was the start of Unblended.
Excellent. And shout out to Methodical. We've had their coffee on this show before. Really great roaster, great people up there. So neat to hear about that initial connection. All right, Andres, let's turn our attention towards you for a minute. Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing on a coffee farm and what you do on the coffee farm?
Andrés, que cuéntanos un poco sobre tu historia, tu crianza en alrededor del café y pues sí, ¿qué te apasiona de eso?
Bueno, vengo trabajando con el tema del café especial alrededor de 4 años. Empecé este tema con un blende, que prácticamente empezamos juntos a través de también de un amigo de nosotros que es Felipe Trujillo. Y actualmente venimos trabajando varios procesos, experimentando y motivando a nuevos jóvenes que se apasionen de este tema del café.
So his name is Andres Cardona. He's 32 years old, and he's a third generation coffee producer from Santa Barbara, Antioquia. And he really started diving deep into the specialty coffee 4 years ago, mentored by one of our friends in common called Felipe Trujillo, who's also a producer, and through a program that the government of Antioquia started, giving sort of fermentation and farm management classes to young coffee producers called PEC, Programa para la Especialidad en el Café. And that's how we met Andres through that program. And then Felipe became his mentor. And yeah, and we've been working together since pretty much day one for both of our stories.
Mm. Excellent. Well, I appreciate that introduction. I do want to dive into the Young Producer Program and the Collab Lot to learn a little bit more about that. And for some of our customers, we have a new coffee that we released about a month ago, at least when we start airing this podcast, called the Colombia Collab Lot. And this is all through the Young Producer Program we're about to learn about. And this coffee is phenomenal. Strawberry, kiwi, coconut cream, just an explosion of flavor. And it's kind of neat because it's a blend at the farm level, it kind of will change a little bit. Sometimes we taste it and it's a little more tart kiwi. Sometimes we taste it and it's a little more juicy. Sometimes it's a little more creamy, but it is always delicious and phenomenal. So, Lucas, can you just tell us a little bit more about the Young Producer Program through Unblended and this collab lot?
So that's an interesting story for many reasons because we never set out to start a company that focused on young producers. That was not the initial idea, but I think that is a similar story for everybody in life and in business. You never have a plan. You just have the life will start showing you the path to go and the answers and the doors to knock. So what happened was that we started, it was my sister and I, we were both really young. And right at that same time, there was the PEC program that was specialized on young producers. So we got access to meeting a lot of them, including Andres Cardona. And because we were young, we started just naturally being friends or gravitating towards or being more interested in other young producers. So it resulted that we were already working with a lot of young producers, and then we later learned that that uh, relays, or that there is a generational gap in agriculture that is actually a big problem in most countries of the world, uh, in Colombia for sure. Um, so we decided then to focus only in buying coffees from young producers and designing uh, on purpose a program to help others achieve what Andres did. So Andres was mentored by an already successful coffee farmer called Felipe Trujillo. And because he worked with him so closely, Andres learned how to manage a farm in the specialty coffee business. He learned new fermentation processes. He learned about copying. He learned all of these skills that now, because of that, Andres has so many customers in the United States, around 40 roast coffees at any given time. And he has around 8 different fermentation protocols and profiles he designed in his farms. So we wanted to replicate that experience on purpose. So we needed mentors and we needed mentees. And that created the the young producer program. Andres is one of the mentors, just like Sebastian Ramirez, who you guys also have a coffee from him, and Carolina Ramirez, who's another young producer that has experience and has been working with us for 4 years. Now, the the program has different stages. We have the recruitment lot, which is washed coffee from the farms of these producers. So we use that lot to bring in new young producers into the program. The point is that producers that are into the program invite their friends that are also young producers, and we buy whatever they're producing in their farm and we put it in this recruitment lot. The next stage is the development lot, which is the one that you guys have at the moment. And to understand why is that important, I have to go a segue into the Colombian context. So the National Federation of Coffee buys everything all the producers produce, but that is processed as a washed coffee. They don't buy honeys, they don't buy naturals, they don't buy extended fermentations. They buy those things as defects. So that creates a lot of risk for producers to experiment and go out of the path of just washed coffees. Because of that, a lot of the young producers in the program had never done a natural or a honey or an extended fermentation, because if they were to experiment, they need to find a customer for it and they need to know the guidelines. So we wanted to create a lot that had two purposes. One, build the demand for experiments, and two, create an opportunity for mentors to pass on their knowledge of designing different products. So how the development works is that a mentor, in the case of the lot that you guys have, Andres Cardona came up with a protocol for an anaerobic fermentation. And then we did a meeting with all the producers. Andres explained, put together a document with pictures, and designed the recipe that everybody needed to follow on 100 kilos of cherry, which is about 20 kilos of green, which is about 18 kilos of roasted, right? So low risk, but we were guaranteeing a purchase of whatever quality came out of that experiment. All of those lots have guaranteed purchase and go into the development lot and get blended with a Sebastian Ramirez red fruit peppermint that gives that strawberry consistency, even though all the other lots are so different. Um, but that's the development. Yeah.
Wow. So by
And
doing
Andres,
this, oh, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Just go ahead.
Well, that's neat. So this development lot program, it seems like there's kind of multiple purposes for why you do it. It gives a safe space for experimentation. where they can try different processing methods, and it's blended with other ones. So there's a little bit of wiggle room for error. And it's even blended with Sebastian Ramirez red fruit, which is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I got to try that as a single origin, and it's just beautiful. So it creates kind of a safe space for young producers to experiment. So I guess my next question would be, why these unique fermentations? Is that because they can fetch a higher price in specialty coffee? Is it kind of a good marketing move because Colombia won't really buy those at a better rate? Is that why you focus on unique fermentations?
Yes, that Ines, as a summary, that is you you're right. It's because differentiating your profiles can give you the opportunity to add more value to the cherries that you're processing. But that's a question. How about let's ask Andres that question so that the listeners can get a context from the farm level. Andrés, él pregunta por qué es más rentable procesar cafés con diferentes protocolos de fermentación que lavados y por qué un caficultor se beneficia de tener no solo un natural, sino en tu caso el Purple Honey, el Luna Azul, el Red Sunset, todos esos procesos. ¿Por qué? Pero en términos que lo pueda entender una persona escuchando esto.
Bueno, Lucas, para mi contexto es por el valor agregado. Es hacer de un café normal con las fermentaciones, potenciar sabores, crear nuevos aromas y ofrecer diferencia en una misma base que es la cereza. Tenemos como base la cereza y ahí podemos ofrecer de no solo la cereza de un lavado, sino que podemos sacar varios procesos como los que hemos tenido.
So in summary, well, I asked the questions why a farmer would care to develop 5 or 6 different fermentation protocols in just one farm, and is it more profitable to process naturals and all these different fermentations than just produce wash? And Andres' answer says it's about adding value. So you take the cherry, right? That's your base, and you're able to create new flavors or different flavors out of the same cherry that you started with. And to some buyers, consumers, roasters, they would prefer and therefore pay more for specific flavors. So some people really like um, chocolate, strawberry notes, while some other might like some more higher acidity, citric balance. And Andres and a producer can modulate those 2 different flavors out of the same cherry and therefore can sell his product to different people. So that's Andres' answer.
Great. Okay. I think my next question for Andres would be, it's in the business world, there's a lot of talk of competition, right? And you want your product to be sold over someone else's. And it seems like there's a lot of healthy components of competition, at least in an economy. And yet so much of this program is focused on collaboration, working together. And Lucas, you even said it seemed to be almost kind of a passing of the blessing, right? Andres received some of this mentorship, so he wants to give some of the mentorship. So Andres, how has collaboration helped coffee in your area and the coffee industry in your area?
Andrés, él dice que en el mundo de los negocios hay mucha competencia. Usualmente la gente no quiere ayudar, ni colaborar, ni enseñarle a otras personas. ¿Que a ti qué te motiva o qué has aprendido de enseñarle a otros apicultores como lo has hecho, a enseñarles un nuevo protocolo o enseñarles a calcular los costos, todas esas cosas que tú has enseñado?
Lucas, porque tengo como un concepto de que hay que compartir el conocimiento. Así como alguien me enseñó a mí, yo también quiero replicar mi conocimiento, mis experiencias y el café no lo podemos dejar envejecer y hay que atraer nuevas personas a este mundo del café, que es un mundo muy grande para explorar y todos tienen la oportunidad de hacerlo. Todos manejan sus diferentes maneras y procesos.
So he says that there are no two producers or farmers that can yield the same results, even if they're following the same recipe. It's all unique. But he says that he feels a duty of transferring his knowledge because he received knowledge he learned from someone else. Uh, and then he says that we cannot let coffee grow old, as means that we have to attract and invite young people and tell them why is this so exciting and passionate.
Very neat. So, my next question then, and I'll let Lucas, you choose if you want to answer it or if you want Andres to answer it. So there's this young producer program to encourage young people to stay in this coffee industry and to give them unique opportunities for collaboration and marketing some delicious coffees. And really quickly, some of the producers in our current iteration of CollabLot, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have Sarah Tobon, Carolina
Yes,
Ramirez, Ivan
yes,
Geraldo,
yes,
Andres Cardona, who's with us, and then
yes,
Sebastian
yeah,
Ramirez.
yes.
So 5 different coffees that are coming into this lot. And I think you mentioned Carolina and Sebastian are also some mentors. So as you're looking at young producers, is there some sort of vetting process to decide who could be a part of the program or who should be a part of the program? Or how do you even recruit young people to even want to do this? What is that process like to get the young producers in?
Okay, okay. So, unfortunately, not everybody can be a good fit because of unblended size. So, in our mantra is to go very deep instead of growing wide. So, for Andres, for example, we buy from him almost every month, and as just as with the other producer. So we can only grow. I guess to put it in different words, we grow at the pace that we cannot buy more from the same producers. So we have other producers that are in the recruitment lot that are part of the program, but we only buy that from them until we have opportunity to grow in more demand. So what makes a good fit for a blended, to answer your second question, is the ability to want to create a brand. We believe that specialty coffee has two businesses. One is the beverage business in which hold on one sec. One is the business in which the roaster sells coffee to a coffee shop, and then the coffee shop sells beverage. So the customer is buying a cappuccino, a latte, a americano, and in that scenario, the coffee is important, but it's not a key differentiator. Why would somebody go to this coffee shop versus the next, or why they would buy a product over the other, or why would they pay significantly more? In the second business that we see in the specialty coffee market is the products business. Is, for example, 33 launches a new coffee and it's a new release, and you guys are marketing, you guys are doing a podcast, you guys are putting up a web page, you guys are doing ads, all to promote this product, the collab lot or a specific blend. In that second business, brands are important. The name of the producer and the work they have done and the differentiators that they can create matter. And if those are aligned with the roasters and the consumers, then the producer will be able to capture more of that value that they help create. So we focus in those young people that have that ability to project themselves to achieve that. Like Sebastian Ramirez is a worldwide brand now. He has customers all over the world, and his brand matters to some consumers. People go to a shop and they see the name Sebastian Ramirez and they're like, oh, I haven't tried this coffee, but I've heard his name enough that I'm willing to go and pay a little bit more to try it because I know it's probably good. So we want to replicate that with Andres, with all the young producers, and that takes time. So we look for somebody that's willing to invest in the creation of their own brand, and it's willing to stay the course for a long time and be patient.
What a great connection, right? Branding is such a big component of, like you said, the coffee shop, the roaster, and you're saying, why not the producer, right? They can have their own brand, almost like an influencer type brand of what is their
Exactly. Yeah.
unique take on coffee. So that way they can really market themselves, market their coffee, which is better pricing, better quality, better sustainability, and it all moves the right direction. This is phenomenal. I love learning so much about this. I got to keep it moving. I know we don't have a ton of time left. The next thing I want to do is I want to let some of our listeners know that we have a new coffee that we are releasing today. And it is called our Evergreen Coffee. It is our holiday coffee, right? Our winter coffee, but it is a cinnamon co-ferment that's also blended with a recruitment lot from Unblended. And so once again, we have another coffee coming from this incredible program. The cinnamon co-ferment is from Sebastian Ramirez. And then we just heard Lucas talking about the recruitment lot, kind of that first stage. And that's being blended in this as well. And it is just stunning. I mean, that is a common theme you'll hear about coffees from Unblended. They're delicious. These producers really do know what they're doing. They know how to market their product as different and unique and delicious. And so I guess, Andres, I'll point this question towards you. Can you explain just what is co-fermentation? And then do you have a favorite type of processing method that you do?
Oh, good question. Andrés, él quiere preguntarte qué es cofermentar cafés. El caso de, él está hablando de un café de canela de Sebastián Ramírez y que cuál es tu método preferido de fermentar cafés.
Lucas, el tema de cofermentar apenas estamos explorando ese tema de cofermentación. Tengo entendido que es de agregar sustancias y para mí el método más preferido a mí como para fermentación es la anaeróbica. Últimamente la estamos explorando más y está dando unos cafés muy buenos, muy balanceados y ahí vamos explorando con los cofermentados.
So Andrés is very curious and he tries a lot of stuff. He's just now experimenting with co-fermenting coffee, which to the listeners, co-fermenting is as the word implies is fermenting with something else that is not common in coffee. So you would add something that's external to coffee, a yeast, a fruit, a molasses, sugar, and coffee being a sponge, it absorbs a lot of those flavors and then they get transferred to the roasting when you roast them and brew them. So in this case, the one that you guys have, Sebastian Ramirez adds cinnamon and other spices into the fermentation tank in an anaerobic fermentation, which means without oxygen. And then Andres Cardona is currently testing some experiments using vanilla, using some fruits. He's done one with eucalyptus that Michelle had tried at the competition, co-fermenting with eucalyptus. And he said his favorite fermentation method is anaerobic. For the listeners, what restricting a fermentation from oxygen does is it closes the barriers for bacteria and it increases the yeast growth. And yeast, like most people have tried in beer, can create some fruity and floral flavors that are really tasty in coffee.
Awesome. Great explanation. And I'm so glad you brought up Michaela getting to go to the roasting collaboration session. I want to quickly share about that. Unblended partnered with Black and White Coffee Roasters to basically gather a bunch of roasters together to listen to some of these producers from Unblended, share about their coffees, why they made the decisions they made with fermentation. And then these roasters got to roast the coffee on site, blend on site to try and come up with a new iteration of the collab lot, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lucas.
Yes, sir.
And then just get to brainstorm with one another. Once again, this component of collaboration. And I'm going to totally brag on Michaela. The blend that she developed ended up getting voted second best, which once again, it's not so much about that as much as it is just about collaboration, learning about one another, and how can we just work with one another to raise value across the board. And we know that the work that y'all are doing in Colombia is raising value for the farmers. It's also raising value for us. It's a great coffee. And so just love the vision for all of it. Love the work that y'all both have put into this. And I'll end this with a question for both of you. So if you could both answer this, what do you think the future of coffee farming looks like?
Ooh, great question. First of all, before I answer, thank you so much for the comments. Thank you for saying that the coffees are tasty, and it was certainly a great event. What we did with Michaela and the other roasters was choose what experiments would get scaled up. That was a crucial part because the roasters, they besides doing an iteration, they also gave feedback to the producers on their experiments, and with that feedback, we chose to scale up Jose Vasquez Natural and Ivan Giraldo's Natural. So that's coming up in this harvest, and we should see it probably around February in the US, those experiments that the roasters helped us select. So what is the future of coffee farming? I'll ask Andrés first. Andrés, que él pregunta, ¿cuál crees tú que es el futuro de la caficultura?
Lucas, el futuro de la caficultura es transformación de productos, o sea, diversidad de productos, no quedarnos en lo básico, en lo commodity, y mostrar que el café tiene diversidad. Podemos sacar de una cereza variedad de productos en fermentaciones, cofermentaciones, y eso nos da diversidad de productos. De una sola masa podemos sacar diferentes tipos de café y todos van a tener su diferente perfil y su sabor diferente.
So Andrés summarized it as he believes the future of coffee farming is about product creation. And I agree, but before I answer my own opinions, Andrés says that that's the future because that the fact that you're able to take the same cherries and modulate different flavors that appeal to different set of customers, it gives an opportunity for you to create its own product with a certain fermentation and that product gets recognized in the market. So that's Andres' answer, and I completely agree. Where do I think it's the future? What's the future of coffee farming? I agree with Andres, and I think it's about the creation of products and brands in collaboration. So in beer, Anheuser-Busch, which is one of the bigger beer houses in the world, invest something in what they call sell-through marketing. So in a channels company where there is the factory and you have to help your distributors sell your products, sell-through marketing is very important. It requires a lot of collaboration and a lot of understanding of the end consumer. We're trying to bring those ideas to Unblended, in which every time we are thinking about a new product with Andres, we think of the end consumer, not the roaster, the end consumer. And when we design our marketing kits and our strategy, we think of the end consumer because ultimately, if you guys sell, you guys will buy more. If you guys sell for more expensive, you guys will be able to pay more, right? So it's all how can we work as a team from your own perspective, our perspective, Andres' perspective, and how can we co-design together a product that appeals to the end consumer? That is the future of coffee farming, I see.
Well, wonderful information and really a wonderful time. I just want to thank you both so much for taking the time to be on the show today. Andres, Lucas, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Philip. Thank you for the opportunity. It's great to, express your ideas and people that try those coffees, please, follow Andres, follow Unblended, share your comments with us if you like them or if you didn't like them. That's very helpful now to take advantage of technology to close in the feedback loop.
Excellent. And we will put some of these links in the show notes. So if you want to follow Andres, follow Unblended on social media, go look at Unblended's website to learn more about what they do. You'll have access to be able to do that. To all of our listeners, thank you so much for joining and listening to us. I do want to remind you that we have some phenomenal coffees from these groups that are doing this in collaboration. The first one is the Colombia Collab Lot. It's got that orange label on it. Came out about a month ago. Delicious, fruit bomb, phenomenal, clean. You're going to like it. And then the new winter coffee that's dropping today, our Evergreen Coffee, the Cinnamon Co-Ferment blend through Unblended and Lucas and what they're doing. So make sure you go check those out on our website. Give them a try. Let us know what you think. And as always, I'm your host, Philip Klayman. Thank you for helping us cultivate freedom.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you so much. Andrés, muchas gracias. Pues es el cierre del podcast.
Muchas gracias por darnos a conocer, por mostrar nuestro trabajo, por apoyar nuestros productos y infinitas gracias por la oportunidad.
He says, thank you so much for the opportunity and helping showcase Andres' products and work.
Excellent. All right. Thank you both so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.